Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Russhabh. I'm the founder of an ad tech company. It goes by the name Frodoh. And we're in the CTV space, right? Today, in the next 40-45 minutes, we'll just speak to you a lot about the evolution of connected TV. We've got a great panel here, right? We've got almost everyone from the ecosystem. So we've got one of the biggest agencies, Rajiv from WPP. He handles Finecast. We've got also Rajiv, who's a traditionally very big marketer, now also evangelizing in the space, also an advocate. Then we've also got V Krishnan, who's from TAM, and one of the biggest OTTs in the space, right? The reason that we're here is just to sort of let you know where the CTV ecosystem has evolved. So say there are roughly 600 million CTV users, smartphone users in India, and there are roughly 10 to 15% people that make purchases, pay taxes, drive the economy. Right? Those users have migrated to CTV. They're watching content on CTV as a family together, right? So before I start, I just want to ask one question to everyone here. As CTV is anyway called the next big play in India, but as you've said in one of your panels that it will not be coined CTV, it will just be TV. So in one line, how do you see CTV as an emerging category? And then is it the new default for TV advertising? Everyone.
Yeah, I just mentioned that, this is going to be mainstream because if you just look at the way the TVs are converting into smart TVs, right? The regular TV is getting converted to smart TVs plus all the new TVs which are coming. So the size of TV screen is increasing, becoming bigger. And secondly, every TV is becoming a connected TV. Once we see a number which is phenomenal number like what we have today. Going forward, I think there's no stopping. I mean, I think every TV set will have ability to receive internet signal and everything will become CTV. So it will no longer be a regular, you can't differentiate then, what is CTV and what is not. So that's the future. That's what I said earlier, yeah.
Let me give you some numbers to this perspective that Rajiv just mentioned, actually. We have around close to 200 million TV sets in the country. And every year, there's around 25 million TV sets that get produced in the marketplace. Now, bulk of them are replacement ones because the growth of TV homes in the country is less than 5%, actually. So less than 2 or 3 million are getting added on to the new TV homes. Actually. Now, the bulk of it, the 25 million homes which are going to replacement, is in fact upgrading the TV sets from a normal TV set to a smart TV set. Okay. Now, as that happens, there are close to around 45 million broadband connections in the country, out of which around close to 24 million of them are home connections, home broadband connections. Now, out of this 24 million, 18 million of them have got connected always. So connected TV is part of two segments. One is always connected TV. There's an 18 million of them, which is 100% connected, which is 10% of the television universe already in nature. And there's another around 27 million, which are partially connected homes, which are using like a Chrome, the mobile connection to Fire Sticks to connect to the TV set, actually. Now, along with that, different devices which are connected to TV sets are basically Fire Sticks, even set-top boxes, which are Android boxes that swings on to your streaming services onto the big platforms. Now, the interesting thing that's happening is, as we see this trend happening, it reflects back to the kind of growth potential this has, actually. That 18 million can, in the next 5 years, grow up to almost 70 to 80 million, actually. Because broadband is becoming cheaper, access to the home is becoming easier, and utility of that broadband, besides entertainment, is also making households switch to wired broadband. If you look at the same, JioStar is sitting here actually, but the IPL that gets streamed on connected TV over the last 3-year trend that we have been monitoring in terms of advertising campaigns, okay, one can see the fact that it has grown by almost 75%. If 2023 was the first year of IPL that has gone in onto connected TV, 2025 it just got ended, the number of advertisers on the platform has jumped up by 75%, actually. So that shows the fact that the change is coming very fast, and you're going to see a multiple options of scenarios existing in the marketplace for viewing behavior and for advertisers too.
Okay, so if I just to summarize this, say roughly about 40-45 million connected TVs in India. For us, TVs turned smart when we plugged in the Fire Stick way back in 2016, 2017. Eventually, we got in Airtel Extreme, Jio Fiber, Jio TV, right? And then the transition from 2020, where 10 million sets were sold, that's where pure connected TVs. And every TV sold today is a connected TV. I think that summarizes that. So again, in a line, how would you?
Yeah, I think just adding on to that, I think one part of it is about the volume, and it is growing really rapidly. So on JioStar, we see about 100 million viewers a month on CTV. So because CTV is seen by multiple people. But in addition to that, which is of course all the goodness that traditional TV was able to bring, it is also able to bring a lot of the digital goodness, particularly in measurement and attribution. And I feel that going forward, as you asked, right, will it be a TV replacement or will it be a new paradigm itself? I do think in the long run, we will see a TV++, right? We will see the paradigm shift with two other technology stacks that are kind of like getting built in parallel with AR, VR, and AI. And you add that to the digital marketing and the TV goodness of CTV, then I think that opens up a lot of interesting possibilities. So I feel like the base case is, okay, we are able to do everything. We were able to do on linear TV and provide that goodness to advertisers on CTV, but I think the ceiling is much higher.
Got it. Rajiv, your thoughts?
In fact, I would like to add to what LV was also stating, right? The touch points have actually expanded for consumers to kind of watch more content. Just to add one more stat to that, a few years back, connected TV was a very metro-centric synonym, right? Today, if you see, more than 60%, it's actually flipped. More than 60% of the connected TV penetration is outside metros. And that's massive penetration happening is primarily due to the distribution mode. Like he said about Jio ads or any smart set-top boxes for that matter is actually sprouting new markets. So when we see from a WPP Media perspective, when we run our campaigns, we discover new markets every day. We're surprised to see that, okay, today there is more visibility coming from places like Warangal, Surat, Gautam Buddha Nagar, Madurai, Kanyakumari. So these markets actually, I think the way that the accelerated mode of consumption of this, one is through Smart TV being very, very affordable these days. You don't need to have a 40,000 rupees Smart TVs anymore. Data has become even more cheap. Content, need not need to subscribe to content. You also have a lot of free content to watch. So these are all markets which is actually moving into the space. So I think the way, if you look at next 3 to 4 years, I'm sure connected TV will actually outpace the linear TV base itself, right? That's how it's going. Or probably both of them will be in tandem.
Got it. I think that's also a great point. And to just summarize that, coming from the SSP side of things, we've seen a great regional long tail as well, right? There are new OTTs coming up and have great, consumption. So there's one called Jojo in Gujarat, the Shimaru. Obviously, there's been Manorama Max, Aha, Sun Next, but even Stage, or Chaupal, Dangal, Pitara.
There's more. There is Rajasthani content, Kashmiri content, Bihari content, all Bhojpuri, everything is there now.
Beaten YouTuber numbers last 2 months. So I think the next growth will also come in from, the 60% growth will come in from these towns, tier 2. Rajiv sir, coming to you, what are the key insights or reservations you still have observed when approaching CTV planning? And what would you like the industry to do to make this transition more effective and more insightful for brands?
I think what is lacking right now is a unified measurement, So right now, what you're dependent on is that you're dependent on the models which are provided by agencies who give you a scenario where you can use TV plus CTV plus other online videos and then make a plan, right? If we can have a system which unifies everything, because the other system which is apart from TV has probably become bigger than the rest of it, right? And some markets, there are some markets where the digital ecosystem is much bigger than TV currently, barring South markets, etc., where the TV penetration is 90%. Other markets, where the TV penetration is not so high, the digital ecosystem is much higher. Now, what happens is that, you kind of know what happens when you measure TV. You know what kind of behavior is there when you look at TV. But within CTV, right, what happens within CTV is very complicated, right? So you have option of watching the fast channels, which are like the TV channels, which are coming free to air, which is just like your free to air channels. And then you have OTTs. There are several OTTs. Like you said, they look every language, etc. Most of these OTTs can be addressed through advertising. I think it's a very good point. Then YouTube itself, which is a MyBop, a big daddy of everything. So within that ecosystem, what happens? One doesn't know, right? So we just say that, okay, CTV, and we can programmatically reach out to the audiences, etc., etc. But behaviors are not very well known. And, when you talk about TV, you can, the behaviors can be mapped on an individual basis. Versus this ecosystem is still very opaque, so as to say. So one is that, adding the two, and secondly, within that ecosystem, what happens? So you should have a unified measurement. That's what we've been grappling with for a while.
Got it. I think that's an industry-wide wish. And I think to again say that there's still many proxy ways for you to measure success on CTV as well, right? Whether products are moving off shelf, GTMT is moving, or even say proxy ways of say brand search is increasing.
Yeah, so that's always there. I've spent a lot of time in advertising, so as LV. What one sees is that if you continue to advertise, you definitely see a result wherever you advertise, right? Even if you advertise in a very slow-moving medium, where you don't nowadays, a lot of people don't trust newspapers. Even if you advertise in newspapers, you'll see you see uptick in sales. So everything works, as long as you advertise. So advertising on in a medium which is very targeted and where you can reach people in a very targeted fashion is no brainer. If you advertise, you'll definitely get results. It's not if you don't advertise, obviously, you'll still be grappling with other issues.
Got it. Rajiv, moving to you. Through Finecast and your audience advanced TV practice, what adoption patterns are emerging in India? Which sectors, since you deal with a lot of them, are emerging with real budget commitments? And how do you see its role evolving in core TV planning beyond just pilot stages?
Sorry, beyond?
Pilot stages.
Okay. I think it's gone way past about pilot testing and everything. One attribution which we look forward to is a concept of total TV, because this is going to be a scenario where, as everybody mentioned, it's going to be one single screen for a consumer. It doesn't matter. It is a linear or it's a connected. It doesn't matter. It's made our life more difficult because it's more fragmented. As he said already, as Rajiv said, CTV is already fragmented. There's OTT, there is connected devices touch points, there is smart TV touch points, fast. It's already getting fragmented. So how do you unify this all? Plus, what about the linear, which is still a very, very massive universe out there. So total TV is the way which we want to look forward to. And there will be both pros and cons in that. So what we have seen is that one aspect which we see is from a planning lens, when you look forward to that, on a big screen, it's a co-viewing environment. Be it connected TV or linear, it's always a co-viewing environment. So I'm always going to reach out to a particular household rather than a particular individual. But what connected TV does is that, can I do it with a little more precision? Can I do it with a little more measurability and addressability? Is what connected TV adds onto it. So TV, linear becomes more efficient. Connected TV adds the effectiveness part of it, right? Can I effectively reach out to a certain set of audience? I'll give you an example, which we did for one of our clients. And they kept repeating the same business with us. It's primarily, when you say about the category of clients, today we have more than 35 categories on live. And the largest of them is definitely CPG, which was the last block to kind of unlock. But today they are the largest contributor here, not only for premium brands, even for mass brands. And what they do is that there are multiple angles to it. the hyperlocal activation through which CTV can be activated unlocks a lot of aspects, be it retail clients or distribution challenges-led clients. So one client, in fact, had asked us, said, can I target a catchment area around my store? And can I bring in a distribution angle to increase my supply or boost my demand over there? Now, that's something which we never thought that we can do it on television, large screen, right? Now, the moment we unlock that, the possibility is not just only for a CPG brand, it's also for a retail brand, a local brand, to be active in that space. So suddenly, a local brand is getting access to a national platform. So I think in that aspect, connected TV is not anymore solving, it's not a pilot anymore. It's not top of the mind or only a branding one. It's actually solving certain, in some stages, we're seeing solving proper business challenges. Or can I create a business solution to a brand? I think in that space, we are seeing a lot more traction. And in that aspect, if you see, today, it's cutting across all categories. Earlier, I think, erstwhile early adopters were definitely your tech and e-commerce, but as I said today, in our industry, we can see more than the largest advertisers are being CPG and FMCGs and personal care.
Got it. Great. So adoption's already there. Also, to just summarize, it's a great point, right? I mean, CTV is co-viewing. In an urban phenomenon, it may be 2, 3 in household. Slightly tier 2 would be 4, 5 even. And the same ad, since it's addressable, it's not getting served in Dharavi and Borivali. It can be extremely targeted to just a certain region.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, it actually helps to boost certain markets which are, I don't want to call media dark, but markets where you can actually boost on certain elements, right? So for example, let's say if I want to boost Gujarat as a market, can I do that specific? Is there a challenge which I need to address in Gujarat as a market or Mumbai as a region? Those capabilities it actually unlocks.
Great point. Aakash, coming to you. Hotstar is uniquely anyway positioned at the intersection of premium content, live sports, emerging ad formats. How are you innovating CTV offerings to deliver measurable impact and personalized experiences? I had seen a very great ad recently, right? So I was watching content, it was around 9:30, 10, I paused and I saw a notification, Colgate. Even though it's driving behavior, that why don't you go and brush your teeth, you have 2 minutes. So pause ads, and that has always been in my head. So is there any new formats that you're developing also to sort of stay ahead of the curve or to fulfill, fill in that factor?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll split it into 3 parts. One is how do we make ads and the messages more personal and more contextual? That's where the pause ads things comes in, right? And particularly for us, thinking about the large-scale live events, doing 1:1 advertising, like really, and we were talking about region, but how do we go from region to, one person? How do I serve the right ad for Russhabh? That has been a solved problem in digital. It hasn't been a solved problem in TV, particularly at that scale. So I think that is a development, that will happen, and we'll see more and more personalized ad. And then there is the contextual part of it, which is, hey, this is the time, you should brush your teeth. Or we recently did an integration with like a weather API. It's like, it's raining outside, why don't you have a coffee, right? So things like that, and where it starts becoming more and more personal and contextual is probably the first category of experiences. I think the other category which I think will take off is interactivity. And trying to think through, okay, in a TV was not interactive at all, right? Where you have, on the other hand, you have digital, which is extremely interactive, but also very fragmented. So where does CTV kind of fit in? How does interactivity kind of build in? So we have done some early experiments in this, both, for example, like, having QR codes where people can scan in, redeem a coupon and so on, which have been fairly successful, but I think we're just, at the tip of the iceberg here. You can think of like things like commerce, for example. We've heard this from our consumers, like, hey, I watched this Big Boss and I want to buy this dress. How do I do that, right? And how do I do that seamlessly? The third category I would call out is how do we bring AI and AR/VR? Because that's also kind of like growing in parallel. And I think there are very interesting applications on CTV. So for example, in IPL, we had a chatbot experience where essentially people could go and, as you're connecting to the match, you could ask, hey, who has hit the winning runs, or who's hit a sixer, how many sixes have been hit, and so on. And we built it just as an experiment, but we saw like a lot of interaction and a lot of uptake from the consumers. So that's just like one example, but now think about what advertising could be once you start having agents and once you kind of change the interaction pattern with the connected TV. So things like second screen experiences, we've always talked about it, but it has never kind of like come to fruition. I think now the technology is kind of like advanced enough that you could do that. So imagine watching a TV with your family and your app kind of shows you a personalized ad based on what is going on versus someone else, right, in your family. So things like that, I think I'm also very excited about. I think in general, this is, as I said, we are touching the tip of the iceberg here. The next 2-3 years, because we have the reach as well as we have the premiumness and we have the digital capabilities, I'm very excited to see like what we build up.
That's nicely put. So, Krishnan, at the cusp of this transformation, right? Measurement is foundational in building advertiser trust. How does India, to achieve a unified total TV metric that integrates linear, connected, and fast channel viewership with no double counting?
Okay. Measurement always comes when adoption of a technology or a platform has become mass in nature. And I think the time has come in slowly for measurement to step up to look at a kind of a total television or probably what unified measurement that Rajiv mentioned. Interestingly, when I look at the global sphere, okay, there are projects happening on that space actually. Nielsen One, which is in US actually, which is a Nielsen US focused project. What it does is uses the present television panel and built on that what we call it as the ACR or audio content recognition injection on the content that is getting pushed onto the digital platform is been done, and that data is getting collated from the same panel along with the census data that is coming from those platforms that are getting measured on those same panel. So it's a combination of a panel and a census data together that is leading to a kind of a output that is given on a monthly basis by Nielsen in the US market called the gauge. Okay. So the gauge gives you on a monthly level what's the market share numbers for linear television and for streaming services together in nature. So in one go. It doesn't answer many of the Rajiv's questions, saying the fact that whether I will be able to, which is the ad that the audience has got exposed to, what's the reach frequency or the impressions that the ad has got, etc. yet actually. But what it tells is the fact that as of July, for example, the streaming services market share has crossed the linear television market share numbers actually. Wow. Right? And therefore able to say which platform in the linear television or which platform in the streaming services actually has a larger market share numbers. Okay. And to that extent, by combining the census data and because of the ACR technology that has been put into play on the content, you can also say that these are top 10 programs that has been watched on the platforms. So it solves to a certain extent what is actually watched on the big screen levels, not the mobile devices as such. The Project Origin that is happening in UK actually, is dovetailed basically with the push of the advertisers, where they are using a creation of a panel, and from the panel they're extracting the data of what is getting watched on the multi-screen exercises, and along with that there are some other players, streaming platform services, who are also part of that particular committee, allowing their data also to flow into play. Actually. In India too, there are small projects that's been executed out actually, which is to do with using the Android boxes that are placed in the homes. There are, for example, today we get around close to 300,000 homes data coming into play from those Android boxes, which is taking care of linear television and streaming services available on that particular platform. When I look at that data, what it tells us three things actually. One, that there's an explosion in the amount of time that is being spent on the screens. So it's a great news for the industry actually. So by 50%, there's an increase in the amount of time viewed on the screen, on the big screen itself. So therefore, people are consuming more content. It doesn't matter whether it's on linear or on streaming. Second is in terms of share of viewing actually. Okay. Linear television still holds its share of viewing. It's not that it's declined in nature. Okay. What has happened is the fact that it's splintered the audiences. So certain audiences are watching certain content on the linear screen. At the same time, some other audience who still are interested in the same content, not able to watch that at a specific time band, is going to streaming and downloading the same content and watching that. Actually. So therefore, integration of content across platforms has enabled more audiences to watch it in a fragmented environment, plus at the same time added on time spent. Actually. And the third big thing is, we see a huge duplication between linear television platform and the streaming platform to an app level. So a duplication between a star network linear television and a star network app or the streaming services is pretty high in nature. So what it tells you is the fact that audiences are searching for content and looking for good content, irrespective of the mode of delivery they want to watch that particular content in. So this augments it very well for advertisers as the measurement starts increasing beyond the width of just a couple of platforms to OEMs, to other devices that is actually creating that streaming exercises. For advertisers to then link and say, hey, am I going to be on the network platform of linear and the same app platform of that same network? And therefore get deduplicated audiences across both of them, and therefore deliver my reach goals, and therefore see what's the effect of it on the brand pickup, on the BLS studies that the brands does. Or should I be doing segregated advertising, targeting a separate audiences that are available on certain app platforms and certain amount of audiences who are available only on the linear platforms. So it's going to be very, very interesting because FAST is available on streaming, FAST is available on linear. Pay is available on, SVOD is available on linear, SVOD is available on streaming too. So it's going to be very, very interesting in the next couple of years as measurement starts rolling out bit by bit in these areas.
Greatly put. So I guess consumption still is the same, it's that the boxes and the screens are different in a lot of ways. Rajiv, what key distinctions in audience profiles or behaviors that you've seen compared to other screens, say linear, and how has that influenced your media strategy?
The audience behavior?
Yeah. Anything in particular?
So, I think, it's more measurable. I think for us, for example, we try to, like, for example, if you know how Dabur works, we are present in almost 80% of the households in the country, right? So, there's at least one product in every 80% of the household. And we want to take that to at least 10 products in every household. That's a target, for example, right? So how do we do that? I mean, in order to do that, you have to reach out to the customers who have bought your product. So like what you say on Amazon, people who bought this also bought this. So we want to do that. We want to get to that. So how do you get to that? Do this? Till the time you don't get right signals, you can't do this, right? So this provides you signals so that you can target and retarget the audiences. And I think that's the segregation of audiences. You can look at your friendly cohorts, or say a lot of our products have very similar kind of cohorts. Like, for example, between Chyawanprash and honey, you'll have very similar kind of profiling. Between one toothpaste in another, there'll be very similar kind of profile. And amongst our categories, lots of categories are very, very similar. So you can look at one category and, target a similar kind of cohort. So these kind of signals you get, which you can't get in any other medium, which is what differentiates it.
Also, do you believe that since CTV audiences started, say, 5 years ago, they are slightly more informational, slightly more affluent, slightly more health conscious, understand or make informed purchases? In some ways, have you seen that?
They are definitely early adopters, So, like, I can relate to this with when cable TV came to India, 1992. That time, I used to work in a TV channel called ZTV, and we had just reached a 2 million mark, 2 million households. The cable TV was present. Then it became, within few months, became 4 million, right? And then 4 to 10 million. It was a huge number back then, Imagine today we're talking about 50, 55 million, which is a massive number. Even then, it was very significant, and it was growing and it ultimately became 100% audiences became cable and satellite. So that's the analogy which I used earlier. Going by that, for us, what happens is that advertising for masses is very important because, unless until you do top of the funnel, you can't reach top bottom of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel, we do different kind of differentiated advertising, and the middle of the funnel as well. So segregation of funnel, where you want to advertise, what you want to say at different points of time, what kind of targeting you want to do, what kind of product you want to advertise. There are lots of times when we just do advertising only on, say, platforms like Amazon, etc., where product is only available there. There's no advertising anywhere else. And that sells as well, just because of the category tailwinds. So using combination of all these things is what keeps us alive, a 140-year-old company,
Got it. Yeah,
But he's right. The top 18 million homes, which are the always connected TV homes, are on the premium ladder, actually.
Yeah.
They adopted it first. They're consuming all their content only on connected TV as a platform with the streaming, through the streaming services. And they've cut the cord over there. Okay. So obvious, and they're paying higher ARPU. The ARPU is, when I index it on the normal ARPU, is almost 45% higher than the normal ARPU that you pay to an MSO or a DTH player in Asia. So therefore, there is premiumness involved in that particular home.
Also, one distinct behavior that we've also sort of noticed is that the highest spike that comes in for CTV consumption is Fridays 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., right? Which is a very distinct spike. I guess millennials or everyone's coming back from homes on Fridays actually catching up on a lot of content. So these spikes are also changing in terms of behaviors, in terms of consumption in some ways. Yes.
Also, the catch-up TV is also very big. Like, for example, platforms like JioStar, catch-up TV is big, and you can almost correlate with the ratings which you get with the programs which are preferred on JioStar platforms. So no surprises there, but yeah, weekends, okay, good point.
Even on Saturdays, it's 11 to 4.
Because what happens, I think most of the OTT, new programs are launched around that time. That could be one lead into this. Secondly, sports, a lot of sports happens on weekends. And the kind of audiences you're talking about is premium, yes. But going forward, I think सब आपस में मिल जाएंगे ना, तब उसको ढूंढना पड़ेगा फिर से. Then have to look for them.
There are 4 genres that are doing really well on the connected TV one, actually. One is sports, live sports. Okay. That's driving CTV penetration dramatically. Second is kids content. Okay. That's why you see these kind of jumps, peaks happening in the non-prime time band too. Okay. Third is the news. And news is now happening all through the 24 hours, actually specifically non-prime time band, so obviously viewing is happening in. And fourth, the new genres that are making waves in the American market, soon Indian market, these are low-cost reality shows, actually. Okay. And these are the 4 ones that will drive larger penetration of CTV. And it will be similar to what happened into television when it's the drama series and reality series that actually took off television in the cable and satellite boom that happened 25 years back.
Got it. Rajiv, with CTV inventory also like completely fragmented, spread across OTTs, also OEMs coming with their first screen ads, right? Or tiles, also a lot of different formats on the first screen, and also fast. How are brands coming to you? Is it an integrated way to plan one medium, one screen? Or do they have preferences? How do you tackle this with brands? And where do you think the growth is coming from?
No, I think it's the same logic of using any media planning, right? It starts always with one objective, which is how do you reach the media KPIs or the media objectives. So it's always could be a reach, in some places it could be a business outcome, it could be a media objective, it could be a communication objective, right? So firstly it starts with the objective when we set up. If the objective is to reach out to the audiences and make an impact in a very short duration, then all these ad formats comes into play. If it's something like Rajiv mentioned in the beginning that any medium for that matter, if you go on continuously for a long time, you can also build a brand, right? That's when regular inventory comes in. So it's always a combination of that. So whenever you need higher impact or if it's a tactical campaign, that has its own values and ad formats will matter. When it's a strategic campaign or a month-on-month regular always-on campaign, that just have its own different strategy. But coming to your point, Russhabh, in fact, definitely OEMs have given, OTTs has given us a larger space to kind of innovate and explore more ad formats, right? Pause ads, which you mentioned, is a great synergy. We never thought that we can actually pause a content and see it again, right? In fact, even on sports also you can do that. And then you have an option to like either go back to the live stream or you continue from where you left, right? These are conveniences which is driving. And in these conveniences, there is small interventions of ad that gives you a high brand recall, right? So each ad formats have its own indication. But I think all matters is the scalability. And the scalability is like how LV was saying is, you might have 10 million connected homes, but are they always on? Maybe not, right? That's when the other aspect comes in, that what is your daily active user base, right? How many of them are daily active or keep coming back to the same platform? Or how many of them are loyal to the same content or the same genre, right? Sports has its own loyalty, news has its own loyalty. So how do you build that loyalty? I think content strategy becomes very important from a broadcasting space. And most importantly, fast channels. And I think that's where the massive unlock will happen. And broadcasters, if they are able to identify this, news is one genre which is already identified. Imagine if you are getting all the linear TV channels in fast very soon. Then I see this as the same level as cable TV network, where you have that placements, the carriage cost, or wherever you need your tiles, channels, placements to be there, that's going to drive more, right? So obviously, we need to look at the consumption pattern, whether it's sports, news, GC, kids content. Can we place all those content signals to fast and OTT signals and boost up the scale up the inventory bit? From a futuristic point of view, I'd like to just add to a point which Rajiv was mentioning about how do you bring in e-commerce data, right? A lot of brands get their data, the sales from brick and mortar on retail stores, online stores, and now D2C as well. Now, can we bring in retail media data or commerce data to CTV ecosystem and create more shoppable or buying behavior? I think that will be another massive unlock. That gives you a full funnel strategy rather than only top funnel strategy.
I think it's not too far because
It was not.
There are some companies like the ones that have built ad builders for say Purple or Flipkart or even Zepto. Their ad builders, we have the bandwidth to at least advertise the same audience on Google or Meta.
Right.
It's just about time someone plugs in the CTV supply and all that first party data gets available.
And all these quick commerce which you just mentioned, all of them has those dark stores and a catchment area around it. So even if it's not at a household level, you're going to get it at least at a catchment level. That data is going to be there. Even that is a good level of targeting to have. I think so. As you said, Q-commerce and commerce will be a big unlock.
Yeah, retail CTV.
Yeah, and very soon.
Very soon. Also, LV, the 18. Sorry, Rajiv. The 18%, the 18 million households. Even broadcasts are taking cognizance of the fact that they're never going to pay again. So, which is why a lot of transition, even Z now on fast, right, is a great enabler for all the other broadcasters to just follow, right, from a dissemination, distributed content level. Yeah, Rajiv, you were saying.
Yeah, I was just saying that, all the pay channels which are completely absent from the fast format and the CTV ecosystem, if they come to this format, I think then the competition will really hot up. And what the pay channels are losing out right now are these premium audiences who have lapsed out, If they can find a way of reaching to them through the CTV ecosystem, that'll be, I think, a great way to reach out to the lapsed out people and, really very premium audiences.
Got it. So until last 2 years when we were planning for budget or even polling, counting, the L-bands even on just CTV were 1/10 of the price. In 2 years they've been at par because they also have understood that, okay, the premiumness is here, probably they would want to pay lesser for L-bands here. Aakash, second question to you is, the viewer habits evolve rapidly. How are you shaping your content strategy to keep audiences hooked on CTV? And what role does it play in driving deeper engagement?
Yeah, I think some of the viewer habits we talked about, right? Like, I think we know that it is a premium audience. Particularly on JioStar, we've seen more like close to 90% of the audience watching CTV is like NCCS AB, right? To add to that, I think a couple more insights, and that's what is kind of like shaping the content strategy, essentially. One is that it is a lot more immersive viewing. So what we see is on JioStar, for example, about 1.5 times the session length as compared to on other devices, right? So, and we see a lot less fragmentation. So if you're watching something, you'll keep watching that, and you'll be immersed in that, which naturally kind of like intuitively makes sense to us, right? You're watching a match or you're watching a movie, as compared to on your handheld devices, you're kind of like switching quickly between multiple things. So we see that kind of play out. So we see a lot of immersive behavior. And the last thing we see, I think Rajiv mentioned, was around co-viewing, right? So we see a very healthy co-viewing factor of around 3 on CTV. So people are kind of like, it's a family-led, like people are watching it together as compared to, right, like your own, in your own time. So when you kind of like bring all of that together, a few content genres kind of like stand out. I think LV called out some of them. So for example, live sports. Your tentpole original content, your blockbuster movies, Hollywood content, all of that is what we will continue to invest in, which is kind of like the primary strategy. The work there is how do you now make it, the experience of consuming that more interesting for the consumers. So for example, cricket, like we introduced different camera angles, different commentary. We talked about like the AI chat assistant while watching cricket and so on. So how do we keep on building on that while watching these primary set of content? I would say in parallel, we have also made a few bets in secondary content or strategy around, snack, like, okay, this is the main meal, what are your snacks? So around creator content, fast-moving content, and how do we bring that to CTV? And I think there's a lot of experimentation that needs to happen in that space. If you look at the time spent in consumers, right, the short form time spent dwarfs everything else put together, right? But how does that translate to CTV, right? Does it even translate to CTV? So those are some of the things we have to like think through, I think, and experiment, and that's going to be like the next couple of years, I think.
Got it. But I guess long format works really well in CTV. Just to give an example as to if we run a true view on, say, YouTube Mobile and YouTube CTV, we've seen a huge difference in the kind of VTRs that come in when you are watching on the connected TV. Because even the audiences are giving space to brands to actually say their narrative, because this is also across long format content anyway. I think that is also a great enabler.
Exactly. I think it comes down to that immersiveness, right? So, like, I'll take an example of, okay, let's say you're watching the 16th over of Mumbai CSK, right? You're not going to switch channels. You're just going to be there and you're going to watch that. As compared to, right, like you're watching, let's say, a video on a social media generated video. And I worked in social media for a while, so no diss to that. But I think the immersiveness is just different. And it is because of that the VTRs are high, and it shows up in all the down funnel attention data and all sorts of studies that we have done, which lead to the brand outcome eventually.
Got it. LV, last question, panel, and then we can all quickly summarize from our domains what we've sort of just for the audience about CTV. The last question is scale, pricing, and measurement. Maturity will mostly influence advertisers' confidence to accelerate budgets towards shift in the coming years. What do you think will follow suit? The scale, pricing, or measurement?
I think measurement is definitely going to be there, actually. I don't think that's a given one, actually. But the more important thing in this entire exercise is the pricing part of it. Okay? Today, because of the limitation in inventory on a linear television, in a year, there is around 7,000 to 8,000 advertisers who advertise on television. That's it. Okay? People like Rajiv use up the entire inventory and does not leave for a small-time advertiser to come and advertise over there at all. Connected TV or any of these other digital platforms have almost an infinite inventory in place. And that's where the long-tail advertisers actually come into play. So today, if I look at the number of advertisers on digital, For the same 8,000 on digital platform, there are 150,000 advertisers actually. Okay?
So for the same 500 CPM user, there's a 200 rupee CPM also regional OTT.
Yeah, exactly.
Advertising.
Exactly. And that is going to keep expanding in a market like India where there are new entrepreneurs coming in. I mean, this itself has been a platform to witness so many new entrepreneurs in this particular world actually. They're all going to talk to the audiences using the platforms that are available in each one. So as now the opportunity for the big players who are creating content and broadcasting content and connecting with audiences is how do I tap these advertisers to come onto that platform? And that is where the code needs to be cracked. One is, of course, programmatic. Okay, you give it away to an ad stack platform owner and then get the programmatic done. And in that rush of inventory availability, the prices only keep coming down. The other one is the fact that aggregate your premium content and then do what JioStar is actually doing with a front team, sales team to go and talk to advertisers, get the premiumness addressed with them, and get them encapsulated into different kind of sponsorship areas for that same content. So ultimately, whether you go by the programmatic or whether where you go by the customized sponsorship routes actually, the value of advertising is only going to keep increasing as more and more advertisers come into play actually. And that means the fact that for the advertising industry or for the M&E industry, okay, that's a great sign actually. Because the growth is going to be there from a subscription or fast basis through consumption for content, and advertising is going to ride on that with more advertisers coming in to grow the revenues more than advertising revenue. CPM levels growing in any particular big way.
Got it. So, we've run out of time, but if Rajiv and both Rajivs can sort of summarize this, and like we're all saying, right, it was 1,500 crores in terms of budgets until last year. It's only growing to 6,000 crores next year. Everyone here as an ecosystem are playing and taking cognizance of the fact that it has to grow and be accessible to the 100,000 advertisers. And also solve for measurement, solve for everything that is lacking. So your points to summarize.
No, okay. So I would say even now, while CTV is seeing a great penetration and it's a trajectory level penetration in terms of household, but it still have only scratched the surface of the entire AdX, right? So the potential is massive there. Plus what it helps through the digital unlock is again massive, where digital has overtaken the TV index already on AdX. So considering that this will fall in between the best of both worlds, the unlock is massive. So really, really positive about both the penetration as well as the advertising spends.
CTV is not cheap, it's very expensive. And it's coming at a huge cost. And I think, as we go along, I think it should become cheaper because, people like us, who have to sell a 10 rupee product, versus somebody who's selling a Mercedes, So there's difference. I mean, we charge the same amount of money from both. And we need much more frequency at a lower cost. So I think the only thing is, which will make us spend more money in this medium is the moment it becomes cheaper, right? Right now, it's still not as cheap as TV. That's why you go to free-to-air TV and other formats of television. So it must become cheaper. I mean, everything else, the science behind, etc., yeah, absolutely perfect.
I think not for long. The moment the growth comes from tier 2, tier 3, and the regional long tails also
come in. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.